why these simple garden designs are getting so much attention right now. Introduction. Welcome to Umami Garden, where I love exploring why certain garden ideas suddenly capture everyone's attention. Today, I want to talk about something I've been noticing more and more. Simple garden designs are becoming incredibly popular. I think it's fascinating because, in a world full of complex trends, simplicity is what's standing out. What I find interesting is how these understated spaces often feel more powerful than elaborate ones. Have you ever wondered why the simplest gardens are the ones people can't stop talking about?
Archimags makes it minimal, fast, and beautiful. Download and save your favorite design issues today, completely free. Get Archimags on the App Store now.
A shift in perspective. I think the growing attention comes from a shift in how we define beauty. In my experience, people are moving away from perfection and toward authenticity. What I find interesting is how this mirrors changes in lifestyle and mindset. Unlike traditional gardens that aim to impress, these designs aim to comfort. That emotional shift is hard to ignore. The appeal of effortless beauty. I believe simplicity feels effortless, even when it's carefully planned. In my experience, a clean and minimal garden often looks more inviting than a crowded one. What I find interesting is how effort becomes invisible in these designs. Unlike overly styled spaces, simple gardens feel natural and relaxed. That's what draws people in. Less maintenance, more enjoyment. I think practicality plays a huge role in this trend. In my experience, people want gardens they can enjoy without constant upkeep. What I find interesting is how low-maintenance designs actually increase satisfaction. Unlike high-maintenance setups, these spaces remain beautiful with less effort. That balance makes them more sustainable. Clarity in design. I've noticed that simple gardens often have a very clear structure. I think this clarity makes them visually calming. What I find interesting is how the eye can rest without distraction. Unlike chaotic layouts, these designs feel intentional. It's a kind of quiet confidence in design. The power of restraint. I believe restraint is what makes simplicity so effective. In my experience, knowing what not to add is just as important as knowing what to include. What I find interesting is how this approach creates elegance. Unlike excessive decoration, restraint highlights quality. It turns less into more. Natural materials take center stage. I think natural materials are a big reason these designs feel so appealing. In my experience, wood, stone, and greenery create a timeless look. What I find interesting is how these materials age beautifully. Unlike synthetic elements, they gain character over time. That adds depth to even the simplest designs. emotional connection over visual impact. I believe people are starting to value how a space feels more than how it looks. In my experience, simple gardens create a stronger emotional connection. What I find interesting is how comfort can outweigh visual complexity. Unlike showy designs, these spaces feel personal. That's what keeps people coming back to them. Conclusion. As I reflect on this, I truly believe that simple garden designs are gaining attention because they align with how we want to live today. In my experience, they offer a balance of beauty, comfort, and practicality that feels genuine. What I find interesting is how simplicity, once overlooked, is now leading the conversation. So I have to ask, do you find yourself drawn to simple garden spaces more than complex ones? If you enjoyed this perspective, don't forget to subscribe to Umami Garden for more thoughtful ideas and inspiration.